Hey everybody, Dominic here. I really enjoyed watching the video from our unit this week. It reminded me a lot of some of the activities that I would do when I was teaching in Vietnam. I actually spent a lot of time teaching reading and writing during my time there, preparing students for the IELTS examination. And so it was good to see another instructor conducting these types of activities because I can see things that I remember doing when I was teaching, but I also saw lots of things that I never did, or at least I didn't do it quite the same way. So that was kind of a fun experience. And I guess from the notes that I took about the video, the thing that stood out to me the most was just the way that the lesson progressed, talking about the progression of what the students did. With the way things started, I like that it started with a free writing activity in which students drew upon previous knowledge. And it was also about a topic that all of them could relate to. Your role in the family is something that for adult learners is more than likely going to be something that they have lots of things that they could talk about. So that's great. It's relevant to them, and there's no huge requirement put upon them to generate certain language features. They're given a lot of freedom in how they go about it. And what was great about that was once they were finished, there wasn't a spotlight put on them to display their writing. I think that if you were to do that, it would create a lot of active filters in which students would be apprehensive to, present their writing and have people see mistakes. Instead, they just verbally shared their ideas with each other. But the writing's still important because it's priming them. It's getting them ready for what they will be doing in the lesson. Then moving on from that, they go into the vocabulary, where in which they just talk about the idea of birth order. And so the teacher helps facilitate this vocabulary, helps facilitate ideas about, okay, what is birth order? What are words that we use to describe it? Let's identify where you are in the birth order of your family. And that's a very guided activity, to the point where the students, start to generate, a pretty good idea of what they are talking about. Then going on from there, having students break up into groups based on birth order and having them critically think about it. I like that because it gives students the chance to negotiate meaning within a small group. And I think that's important to get students who are perhaps a little less or a little more reluctant to voice their ideas in that small group setting. It's easier for them to talk than perhaps as an entire class. Then bringing those ideas together and then moving on to the jigsaw reading. What I like about that is this is the first point at which a piece of writing is given to the students, like a paragraph of writing. And I like it because at this point in the lesson, the students have already primed themselves and drawn upon previous knowledge and have established a lot of context. And so when they get to the reading, they are far more likely to be able to work their way through it, having talked about it so much already. This is something that's different from the way that I had taught when I was in Vietnam. I would often start off my lesson with a one paragraph reading in which I had students mark up the paragraph with anything that they were unsure about, uncertain about. And that worked okay, but I could see how establishing this context from the very beginning would have led to better results. So I love that. I think that the way in which you pace out activities and think carefully about establishing context, priming the students for what we will be discussing in the lesson, and having them draw upon previous knowledge, these are all things that can lead to student success. So really enjoyed watching the teacher in this video.